Welcome to the Cartoon Guide to Genetics by Larry GONICK and Mark WHEELIS. Apparently, that is his name. So, Mark WHEELIS. The thing about the Cartoon Guide to Genetics is about how it works. Let me start off with this. Now, today we're going to talk about chromosomes. Chromosomes themselves are actually pretty important. Genes are the things that actually create chromosomes. And to me, they look like little X's. However, sometimes there are also things called the Y chromosome. Where this is the Y chromosome, and this is the X chromosome, this is the Y chromosome. The thing is, X and Y chromosomes actually determine what you look like, how you work, and whether you're a boy or a girl. And that is actually important in some people's cases. Let me explain. Now, genes themselves are used for reproduction, religion, etc. Yeah, whatever. We're actually been doing themselves. We've in the previous episode we talked about religion, reproduction, ATCG. Those kind of things. Technically also ATCU. But here's the wild card. Chromosomes themselves are actually way too small to actually see with conventional microscopes. Well, at least the conventional microscopes of the 1800s. That happened. And then people stopped looking at them and they're all like, hey, how does this appear whenever we see a cell divide and when it completes division, it just disappears? Hey, it's a disappearing cell. Huh. And they decided like, we need to, so, does it just go away somewhere? Or does it dissolve? Or what? Hey, we need to ask an expert. What expert? Expert in cells? No, we're the cell experts and we're stumped. Now, we need an expert in disappearance. And so they went ahead and did all that. Except this time, they went ahead and figured something out. It doesn't disappear, it's just too thin to see. The only reason why we see it whenever it folds, whenever it folds and finishes reproduction, it's because it's like folds itself, and that's the only time when it's thick enough to be seen by the conventional microscope. Because this is too thin, but this is thick enough, just thick enough. So they decided to go ahead with that wild card, and they're like, yeah, that's a pretty good reason. I'm gonna go with him. Yeah, me too. Me too. That all happened, and everyone actually started doing that. Started going ahead and agreeing with that. So what happened next? Well, lots of things happened next. Let me explain. Like this. Firstly, they went ahead and started doing everything, and so they did that. And then finally, they just realized that, hey, maybe this isn't such a really good idea. What do you mean it's not a good idea? It's a brilliant idea. So now we get to go ahead and do whatever we want. What do you mean? So, right now, we do things. Like how? Okay, I'm actually going away and I'm actually going to talk a lot of nonsense. So here's the thing. The Cartoon Guide to Genetics is just about genes, and chromosomes themselves are actually useful for this. Chromosomes themselves are actually visible when cells are dividing. So what now? X's and XY's. Let me explain about that. How do we get from that topic to this topic? I have no idea, but it is pretty important, and this is the topic right now we're meant to talk about. X's to XY's. Now, X chromosomes and X chromosomes and Y chromosomes are important in the determining about is this going to be a girl or is this going to be a boy, la 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 la. So that all happened, and I decided that, hey, you know what? I don't care anymore. I don't care. So who's with me? They went ahead, and then some people started caring. But hey, I don't care, and so they went ahead, and those guys actually started studying about this topic, and then they realized that X's and XY's are important in boy and girl making. X's and X's, double X's, are actually important for creating the girl. However, X's and Y's were actually important in creating the boy. So the boy's sperm actually determines whether the baby will become a boy or a girl. So that's pretty darn important, don't you think? Means what happened next? What happened next, people? What happened next is that people just started believing that. Also, some people didn't, as they still believe in the old theory that boys, alright, so the sperm gets to decide. So the boys are dominant. They're the ones who give the sperm, while the egg is just a place where it's the soil, while the boy's sperm is the seed. So does that mean everyone should be boys? Good point. Girls come from interference from the soil. Well, that's a pretty bad idea. Yes, and it's a brilliant idea. Okay, you know what? bye-bye. And then they realized this would actually kind of make more sense, because then that meant that girls' eggs actually had a part in this, because they couldn't just be soil. Why would there be chromosomal material in it? They went ahead and X's and Y's became boys, and X's became the girls. And so with all that, it was actually pretty important. It was actually a pretty revolutionary discovery. So gene nucleuses were also found out later. The thing about where they found the chromosome was also they found nucleus before that, because it's bigger and it's more better, and they've actually found about its function a bit later. So the chromosomes themselves were found out. Then they realized what the nucleus was for. It was just the house of the DNA, which will be turned into mRNA, messenger RNA, that could be used to create proteins and create literally everything else. Then we found out about cells. So cells themselves are pretty important. They themselves are made up of different items. Well, organelles, as they call it, because it's like not organs. They're too small to be organs. The thing is, the nucleus is just a place where the whole thing is done. The ribosome is the place where they just throw away things. They just go ahead and recycle things. The mitochondria is the place where they create the energy, and the ATP needed to go ahead and do everything. The Golgi apparatus is just the places where they do some stuff, and the cell outlining, the membrane itself, actually the division between the cell and the rest of the outside space, with like the fluid in between them, the fluid in between them. Sometimes plants actually use cell walls instead of cell membranes, and that's actually a way better and more rigid thing. It also has a bunch more defenses. The bad thing is it's too rigid. It's not flexible at all. So that's about chromosomes. Hopefully you've actually learned something new from this episode. Hopefully you guys will actually enjoy the next episode. And I really hope you guys enjoy this episode. See you guys soon. And until next time, Sean out. Peace. Wear a helmet, please. Please, please, please wear a helmet.